Do you see any green? Yes, you do.
To be voted on and presented, so I could submit that.
Whatever you need.
Well, it hasn't opened up yet, so nothing really.
No.
Well, yeah, that's the best we can do.
Minutes before, so let's turn on our microphones, please. Got a full house here. I'll say once again, happy to have team members at the table. So we have a guest for our public session, right, Pat?
Yes, we do. Hi, I'll speak loudly.
Please do.
How about that? Yeah, oh, hey, I could even go to the mic. How about that?
Yes, you could.
All right, that will let things go.
Yeah.
Yes,
All right. Yeah, I'm Michael Felder, city executive retired, deputy from the sheriff's office, and he's currently running for sheriff. He's going to be on a Republican ticket already, you know that. If you were to include me or collecting signatures for it, I'm also as an independent. And I've been talking to him about what the sheriff's department can do for the lakes, especially in view of what we've all been looking at about the no wake zone and the no wake board law that all of the municipalities are looking at. And I asked Mike what, when he was there, the sheriff's department was doing regarding speeding and what he would do if he would be elected. So I asked him to come here so you guys could ask him questions and tell him what it is we're after.
Okay.
So Mike.
So Mike, just so that to give you a background, probably Pat already has, but where we have the different municipalities have are developing laws around wakeboard boats and different things. There may be more. And we haven't necessarily had a presence as Paul has helped us understand on the lake in order to enforce some of this stuff. There's even been some conversations, BFS with SUNY. Biological Field Station with SUNY and stuff. But we're really hoping, Paul Lord has been very helpful by telling us that when there is a presence on the lake, dramatic difference in speed and that sort of thing.
Funny how that works.
Yeah. So we'd love to hear what you might be able to help us with.
Absolutely. I mean, for starters, I'm from Middlefield. I'm Indian Run Road. I'm 10 minutes from here. You know where I spent most of my childhood summers, right here on the lake. My father grew up down by the Hudson, and he loved boats, and he translated that love to boats towards us. Water skiing and motorsports, they were something that was important to us. So I spent a lot of time on this lake. So I know it, and I'm passionate about it. And we have something absolutely beautiful right here in Otsego County, and that is that gorgeous lake. So it is definitely a one of a kind.
Yeah.
That being said, I spent many years as a supervisor at the sheriff's office. One of the things that I did, one of the main things that I would do would be to see talent in somebody and to encourage them and to find additional schooling to help them out and to better our sheriff's department and thereby our county. One of those things that I would do is that I would help people to send them to boating school and then advanced boating school, which we would do. Lake George has probably one of the best boating schools in the state of New York. It's gorgeous. They have a fantastic week-long school, then they have an advanced school, and then they also have schools to target very specific laws. So they are fantastic up there. We've had many deputies, not just the road deputies, but also the corrections officers. They were encouraged to sign up and volunteer for this course, and many did, and they attended that course. And at the end of the day, they had a wonderful time. They learned a lot. They had a great vacation in Lake George, spent time on the water, came back and spent not 1 minute on the water here in Otsego County. And that was a tremendous loss to us. As a supervisor, I would try to encourage, and I was always kind of thwarted by the higher ups, the people above me that said, we don't have the time.
Mike, are there boats?
There are. Otsego County Sheriff's Office owns 3 boats, 3 very nice boats. The boat that is most often associated with here on Otsego Lake was a very large Boston whaler. And it is a fantastic, very expensive boat. It's the largest of the 3 boats right here. The other 2 are more specifically designed for smaller bodies of water, such as Canandaigua Lake and Goodyear Lake. And in the past, that was what we would want to do. We figured that we have 3 boats, we have 3 lakes of varying sizes. Let's get the boats out there. And what we would find is we would put the boats out there, and when they were in the water, they were usually docked at Sam Smith's. And then at some point, if they weren't either dry docked and they would drop them in the water for us, they would have the little dock space that's just outside the Mingo in the weeds.
Mhm.
And that's where the boat would oftentimes be seen when it was in the water, was parked there in the weeds, being banged up,
Yeah,
not in good shape. For those of you folks, I'm assuming that most of you folks here that are part of this committee are boat people. You're water people, and you spent time on this lake that you're protecting, right? So have you seen that boat sit at Sam Smith's?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice boat.
It's a very nice boat. And my description of it being banged up in the weeds is that far off from accurate.
Okay.
I think it's fairly accurate, and we can do better. Now, several years ago, I was approached by Ms. Wyckoff. This is my specific story. I was approached by Ms. Wyckoff after there was several incidents on lakefront. It would seem that some tourists jumped from boat to boat, and I believe there was at one point during an incident, a sinking of one of the boats at lakefront. There were some issues, but you have a tourist town, you mix in a little bit of alcohol, and you have people that act foolishly. These are the things that happen. They're not a regular occurrence, and that's why you have the PD, and the PD investigated those incidents. But let's try to get ahead of this. Ms. Wyckoff, her concern was that people don't associate the lakefront with any sort of law enforcement presence.
Yeah,
She had gone out of her way to offer the sheriff's office, by way of me, a dock space conspicuously right in front. Now, there's a reason why we were going down the thruway every once in a while, you'll see the lone trooper car sitting on the side of the road. And everybody, no matter how many times you've seen it, the reflex action is you hit the brakes. And then you drive past and there's nobody in it. It's a very clear deterrent, and it works.
yeah,
And by seeing that beautiful boat with the red stencil sheriff written down the side, that makes an impression on people without ever actually talking to them, without ever actually having contact with them. That makes an impression.
so are you sensing that that there would be, with the right sheriff leadership, there would be an opportunity to patrol this lake in a better way?
Absolutely.
Okay,
I presented, I wrote up and I presented a proposal to Sheriff Devlin at the time with this offer in mind. I also spoke to Chief Cavallari, and we sat down and discussed the possibility of a mutual aid agreement between the sheriff's office and the village of Cooperstown. That mutual aid agreement would be a very simple thing. Part of their patrol duties would be to check the boat and make sure, 1, the batteries are charged, and 2, it's not sitting on the bottom of the lake. That would be their nightly patrol, no different than when I was in the Cooperstown Police Department. Every day we would lock up the bathrooms and then take down the flag. That was one of my duties right here in Cooperstown, back in 2001, when I worked with PD. So a very simple thing. With that mutual aid agreement, I asked Chief Cavallari at the time, would you be willing to sponsor somebody to a general operators course, which is a day course for some of his people, his personnel. If a sheriff's deputy wouldn't be available in a case of emergency, they could utilize the sheriff's boat to assist fire and EMS for any emergencies on the lake. It's a very simple agreement. And I thought that this was pretty reasonable. I thought it looked very good for the sheriff's office and that it worked for Otsego County and Cooperstown and Otsego Lake. Because let's face it, we have a lot of people, tourists come down there and they see that boat. Now, they don't know when there's going to be an officer out there, and that's the key. There might be one, but you put a little thing in your head, in your psyche. Gee, I may want to be careful because I know that they're there and maybe they're going to show up at any minute and start patrolling. That affects people in a positive way. That proposal was shot down by Sheriff Devlin. It's unfortunate because I think that would have been useful. I think it was a fantastic thing that Mrs. Wyckoff did when she offered the dock space to us. I thought that would be great. Unfortunately, it was underutilized. Just like our deputies that are trained to use that boat that have never stepped foot on the boat.
Yeah.
I know this because on a rare occasion, usually 4th of July, large people on the lake and some Facebook photos always looks great on the sheriff's office Facebook page. And what I would run into is these people from boating school would come to me and ask me to help them out that night. And it's 4th of July, I'd like to do my own thing. And I always get, but Sarge, we have to dock it at night. We're not really comfortable. Mind you, I intentionally never went to the boating school. I said, I know enough about boating. I was fine with it. And I would say, yes, of course, I'll come down and I'll launch the boat and dock the boat for you. And so we would go out and spend our 4th of July and watch the beautiful fireworks. And then I would dock the boat at night because I had a lot of boating experience growing up right here on Otsego Lake. I think it's an underutilized service that we should really focus on. There is a line in the budget for the boats, for the fuel, and that's an important one, right? And for the personnel. It's not huge, but there's a line there. Now, what do you folks think about the possibility of one, I would be able to hire a part-timer, a retired member from the sheriff's office that would utilize the training that they would receive for the advanced boat school and go out there and patrol the lake. Now, we're not saying that you have to write everybody a ticket, but you know something, just the idea of talking to a police officer on that boat, that will curb behavior.
Yeah.
When they see the boat bobbing out there and it sticks out, that white boat with those red letters on it, guess what they're not going to do? They're not going to come tooling into lakefront at a high speed. They're going to obey things like the no-wake zones. They're going to be more cautious. And at the end of the day, that's exactly what we want.
Well, this sounds great. This is what we were hoping for. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I have a question. I really appreciate the deterrent effect of mere presence. But we have 4 municipalities, including the village, who are drafting legislation that would require enforcement. And we are trying to make the key provisions identical so that in the event of an enforcement action, you and your staff would be able to do that effectively, irrespective of where you were on the lake. So the question is, in terms of, with all the deterrents and presence to discourage speeding, somebody does, and you're out on the lake.
Yes.
And what do you need from us in terms of clarity of legislation to be able to cite an offender?
The thing we can do right now is any of the boating and navigation laws that are in New York State, that's already on the book, they can be enforced. Things like the no-wake zone, and there's a whole pile of things. Like I said, I always enjoyed the lake. So I intentionally never went to the school. But my job was to send people to the school for the advanced training to know that. It's no different than NCON violations. I know NCON law a little bit. Yes, I can write those tickets, but I just as soon call them up because they're the experts in that field. So we would really rely upon the deputies who had gone to that more advanced school to write those tickets. Now, if a ticket is already in the book and it's part of the marine law, New York State, yes, we would be enforcing that. And it's a fantastic question, because what would we need from all of the surrounding townships to create a law specific to Otsego Lake? And then how do we enforce that?
That's
So a
exactly-
great question. That's a legal question for a lawyer.
Right, well, we are at that point. We have 4 laws that are making their way through the hearing process, the enactment process, including the villages. And so we would hand copies of those laws to you. And then the question is, without more, do you need the Attorney General or somebody else to authorize you to enforce local law?
As I believe, not the Attorney General, but there is a provision. Most generally, the Sheriff's Office nor the state police enforce village ordinances. So how is this different than an ordinance? And what can we do in order to enforce that
Well,
ordinance?
that's the $64 question, because
Yeah.
right now, Springfield, Middlefield, Cooperstown, and Otsego are all there. And I don't know if you've seen, maybe Pat has given you a copy of the town law that
Well,
we're considering.
it's gone to the last line on the first, which says, the village one, which is what I'm looking at, says, Village of Cooperstown authorizes the Cooperstown Police Department to issue a certificate. However, such authorization shall not prevent any law enforcement officer of the county of Otsego or the state of New York from enforcing compliance with this local law.
Right.
And my
So I think
question,
what Michael was talking about maybe making sure that we all have a similar kind of form, you know, a ticket. The actual accusatory instrument that's in a book that they fill out all the same.
right,
Because I can tell you on the town court side, what's happening that's the most difficulty is speeding tickets. People are being let off because the tickets aren't being made out correctly, or they're not in the right town, or they're not the right date when there's court. And unless that's done correctly, even if they give the ticket, they're not going to be.
right. But Pat, go right back to that, please. Would you read the last sentence again about nothing prevents?
Such authorization shall not prevent any law enforcement officer of the county of Otsego, such yours, or the state of New York from enforcing compliance with this local law.
Okay, so my question about that, our own draft, which I participated in preparing, is that statement is not, we cannot authorize a separate authority in a way, a higher authority. We can't authorize the county to do something. You have to have that authority yourself. So when we say nothing would prevent you from doing it, my question to you is, where do you get your authority to do it? We're not standing in the way, but we're not asserting home rule against your doing it.
I asked this, that's a fantastic question, and I asked this, and I say, sounds very similar to the county law that was already put in place regarding animal cruelty cases. Otsego County passed a Otsego County law regarding animal cruelty cases and the registration of people who have been convicted of animal cruelty. Now, I would say that something like this, endorsed by the county board in Otsego County, that would hold as far as the weight of law. And at that point, we would issue tickets.
Okay.
That's what it sounds like to me. Now, I am not an attorney. But an attorney would best be able to answer that question. But I'm seeing very distinct similarities between those two things. If the sheriff's office can enforce a law that was sponsored by and put into law by Otsego County, the town board, then why wouldn't they be able to adopt a law revolving around the watersheds, revolving around the lakes? That would make perfect sense to me.
I'm gonna just do maybe another couple minutes and then move right into the agenda.
I'm still learning here, so bear with me with this question. Who owns Otsego Lake? My understanding, and someone told me some time ago, I did not research this, I said the state owns the lake. Does anybody know the answer to that? Matt,
Yeah,
you're shaking
that's
your head. It's owned by New York State with provision for municipal laws and regular and so forth, but it's owned by the state.
Right, understand.
Is there a body, well, there is marine law you mentioned, Mike. Is there an easy way to get a handle? I chair the regulatory committee for this group. Is there an easy way to get a handle on what the marine law is in a succinct format that we might use for other things about how to manage the watershed?
Well, New York State makes available all copies of penal law, environmental conservation laws, criminal procedural law. These are all things that can be found very easily. Undoubtedly, your police department right here probably has great big books about that thick dedicated to those specific laws.
And there may-
So
So you can find,
marine law would be applicable to a state-owned lake.
yes.
Right, well, here, if I could just make one.
Jim, go ahead, Jim.
Can I just make a real quick comment, very quick? A week ago, Richard Sternberg asked me to call Michael, I did, we had a good conversation. About the possible help from the Otsego Lake Association. And OLA does not endorse political candidates. But I let the board know of Mike's position, and I will say that I personally, I think with Paul, met with Sheriff Devon, I think I went in with you. I met with him twice, I met with Dave Bliss when he was county supervisor, is that right? And Dave pulled me, I know Dave, he pulled me aside in the hallway and just said, you know, Jim, you're wasting your time. You know, because the sheriff said, talk to the county's not funding me. I went to Dave says, you know, that's not true. Until something changes, there's not gonna be a patrol in the lake. So that was about 2 years ago, and basically I gave up.
But you're still here.
Well, if I could just, I just want to address a technical question.
Yeah.
I think it is the state of New York that owns the lake bed. And it will patent out some of that land that has even in the village of Cooperstown. So the lake bed is owned by the state. There are other laws on the books that, for example, give a riparian municipality jurisdiction 1,500 feet into the lake for the purpose of regulation of boating.
Right.
So it's not, our village boundary, even though it looks like an inverted home plate when you look at all the maps they show it, that's not an accurate depiction of where our ownership or our jurisdiction extends. It only extends 1,500 feet out from the lake shore. But I think for the purpose of dividing, showing maps where the Otsego is, Middlefield is, and that sort of line down the middle of the Mercedes-Benz or peace sign looking.
The thing I've learned in supervision, when in doubt, ask somebody who's already doing it. And Lake George happens to be doing it right now. The Warren County Sheriff's Office they're the ones that host the advanced boating, the entry to boating school, the advanced boating school, and many other schools. So here, Lake George, a great big huge lake, with Warren County being one of the jurisdictions that it falls through. That would be a fantastic place to start making a phone call and to say, what laws have you put on the books? What arrangements have you made to handle that large body of water? I think one portion of Lake George even falls onto Vermont, or it's just the other side of the road. It's
Yeah,
Vermont.
it's the state legislature has enacted a special jurisdiction law for Lake George, so you're right, there are special arrangements that are made that affect state.
I think that's a good idea. But thank you so much. This has been very, very helpful. I appreciate you taking time to help us understand how that might work. Were you there?
Absolutely, and I will guarantee you folks this, that with our administration, the voting is something that's important to us, not just here, but also in Canada Rago Lake. We've had discussions with the fire department there, because I think that having a vote available to respond to an emergency is key to saving somebody's life out there. And right now, as beautiful as Cooperstown is, and as much as Cooperstown Fire, they have a lot of equipment. I notice they don't have a vote.
Mhm,
Neither does the village PD.
right.
And yet this would be something, a very simple mutual aid agreement. That we can all utilize this wonderful equipment for the purpose of saving lives.
Great.
So.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, public session closed. Let's go to, the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve? We did change them. Thank you, Paul. So I'll second it. And then we have a modification, so I want to approve it with the modification Jacob sent out. Yeah, everyone okay with that? That was sent out on email.
Yes.
Okay.
Are we looking
They're
at
fairly
the modification or?
It was sent out on email. I sent it out.
It's this in front of us with the modification. or-
I don't know. I can't see what you're
Just
holding.
put the hand up.
Oh, okay. Yes. So all in favor?
No,
No, no.
no. On the top of page 2, picking line, we do not have it.
Oh,
Since you have it in the agenda 3 times this meeting.
I'm sorry. I
Take it
thought,
up then, but no, we do not have a date.
okay,
Do
so
not have a date.
I'm sorry about that. All right, so I will modify that, we'll modify that with that change and the change that, Jacob made. Are we okay with the minutes?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thanks, Paul, for that. I appreciate that. Thanks, Jacob, for the modification to that.
Sure. Martina, I just want to know that Jeff has.
Oh, hi, Jeff. Okay, let's see, under septic issues, I think, there's just a few things we want to just, make sure that we're, chatting about. One is, the town of Springfield asked that when we do inspections, when we get to a robust approach to that, that they get a letter about that instead of having to read through the minutes. And I'm sure we can accommodate that.
Yep.
Okay,
Not,
all right, and then, Kyoko, the J.
You know that one too.
Yeah,
yes, I don't know if not happened in recent years, but that's literally written in my instructions, just to make sure I'm sending out updates for all the.
Pretty sure.
What we're doing and what we're successful with.
we'll make sure that happens. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's, yeah, for all.
Kyoko, this next one we talked about briefly at the last meeting. What is the next step here? Or is there one?
For the set JVs.
JV septic that you?
Yeah, so I'm just kind of standing by to see if there is any interest in having a septic expo type thing associated with the second public meeting.
Thoughts?
Yeah.
Like, no, it has a net for all of the septic professionals that we are aware of to say that here is a venue where the public is going to gather to discuss 9/11 plan. And you could have a table or a booth to advertise your service or products.
I think it seems reasonable. I don't know, you all might want to wait until we're like closer to it, just to know how many other things we'll have on the agenda. I don't know what kind of time frame we have for that.
Okay.
That would be my only concern. I guess the only other part is. That it comes across like that's the main point that we're telling everybody they have to buy the, just so there's no miscommunication. That's what we're. here
So,
for.
so we would set it up as a sort of a table of opportunity versus, yeah,
Otherwise, it's
okay.
great time for people to learn more about those. So I generally agree with one of your comments about. what we have.
Can you let them know that we'll be in touch, as we get closer to the public meeting? Sure, yeah. Okay, thank you. Septic smart, Jacob, I just don't know what it means. Is this something we want to be part of? There's apparently a septic smart designation.
Oh, that's only for the Long Islands. Right
I'm so
now.
Sorry, never mind.
I just said that, it is happening and it may become,
Okay.
But until then, I do not want to move to Long Island, so.
And the last bullet is my mistake, so we'll cross that off. Okay, 9E action. Okay, discussion of vacant land use and report.
Yes, so we hit on this a little bit in the modeling meeting, so it's possible that there's something coming from it in that regard, but I sent out those two. But I sent out the two maps. One is the land cover map, and then the other one is the vacant land stuff. And Wendy brought that up at the last WAC leadership meeting. We were discussing these things. Because she just didn't know what was in those categories. She has learned more. That map is not one that they're intending to put in the report per se. But she wanted to know like how much we were interested in getting into that. The data is a bit confused, I think, from how she explained it to me, in the sense that a lot of those categories have subcategories. And some of them kind of overlap in definitions. So from her description, it's not entirely clear whether the Herkimer information and the Otsego information would be entirely the same thing. And it would require a fair amount of work from her perspective to go through and delineate what all those categories meant specifically, and then sort of come up with more user-friendly terminology. So she basically said that would be out of the scope of the work. There'll be a brief discussion about what percentage of vacant land is, forested versus agriculture and so forth, but yeah, sounds like something we would have separately. If we wanted to.
I'm not sure that we would have to do anything except explain that the two counties have different categories and different ways of identifying, the uses.
Yeah, the question I had, it would go to Christos, I think, too. I looked at the two maps, the term, and I made some comments and notes to everybody.
Yeah, your comments, well, take,
But as a practical matter, Christos, those categorizations, how do they fit into your soil and water conservation activities? Well, it was vacant lands, it was scrublands, barren lands, it was grasslands.
So the thing that you're referring to, that was the land cover map
Land cover.
go, and those are actually in the map. I talked to her about it this morning. It's just a question of whether they're visible. So she said, well, those are present, everything that's in that key is present in the map. It might just be that they're of such a small scale, it's never gonna appear in the map. She said, I could definitely take them out. And then they would just be in the summary tables. But then my point is that, like, well, if you have somebody with the summary tables, maybe they're upset that that's not in the map.
Yeah.
So it's valid to go either way in terms of that specific question. My question largely has,
What are we trying to?
I guess that's her,
So what, what?
that was generally when, is that the bulk of the conversation comes from the land cover map, which delineates the different types of agriculture, and forestation, and everything else that was there.
So in terms of the land cover map, that was the first one. Right?
Yes.
So that land cover map also had some ambiguities to it. So, and maybe the terms of art make sense to the practitioners, but the idea of characterizing as urban those occasional houses along the road. So we had the roads in black, but you couldn't really see unless there were houses next to them. And you saw that there was a red stripe.
And
Are those useful? I get, they must be, but I didn't get it. So to your point, how is the data informative to our mission?
Isn't, Jacob, let me clarify, aren't these maps that she would want to include in the 9E plan?
So to be clear, the first map already is, we've already reviewed it, that's an outdated map inherently, and I'm still gonna pass along your comments, because I don't know whether they fit in with what we already had first review of that. So that is definitely one that's in the report. Her question to me to pass along to you all was, how much do we want to get into this vacant land categorization? Because it's very difficult to tell from those a lot of useful information. She says that's all county level data. So that's just a quick mapping they've done.
And what does vacant mean compared to open space compared to forest? I vacant means like terra incognita on the era of discovery maps. We don't know what's there, but there's obviously something there in every form of these maps.
Somebody's alarm clock is going on their phone. I think it might be.
And I don't want to persist with this. I just found with a lot of different terms being used that seem to overlap and ended up leaving me confused because I don't know what vacant land means.
So perhaps the vacant land map you don't need to use.
That's my thought, but I just wanted to make sure I run it past you all. I'm willing to entertain that.
The answer to that is, it depends, and this goes back to what you guys were saying about. Why do we need to know the vacant land? This also, and this has to primarily deal with storm and rainwater runoff. And the point of the matter we're trying to make is that an old gas station or maybe an old storage area that is paved and all of that, it's gonna rain and all that water directly into the lake. Now, if we're dealing with a grassland or a pasture land, the growth and the vegetation of said things is gonna be able to hold on to water a lot more. And the idea is that the more plantings that there are there, the more flora that exists on said land, the better we'll have the slowing down, pertaining to the slowing down of the stormwater, which will help with the erosion, which will help with the control of nutrients entering the lakes.
Okay, so then maybe the vacant land map is important for the 90 for us.
Yeah.
Because our lake has enough vacant land that we have to be worried about it. That's what I hear Kristen saying.
Well, yes, and then there's also the other thing that you have to deal with is that. Depending on what's in that vacant land. You also have to deal with what's it called with heat, especially during the summer. For example, like a paved area. Will be reflecting a lot more heat to that. To the region rather so than a forested, a lot more absorption, which probably is not so much relevant to what this it's of secondary relevance, but. It may affect the local ecosystem in its own way, but the point of the matter is, and this is going back to what I originally have to say, the vacant land situation definitely is of relevance to the 9/11 plan.
So here's my question then. Every example of vacant land you gave describes urban land to me. Whether the gas station is no longer used, but it's still got impermeable surface, it's indistinguishable environmentally to me from an active gas station that's reflecting or absorbing heat and doing it. So again, I just didn't.
Not necessarily so, because another land that we can consider vacant. Can be agricultural fields that have been laid fallow because they're just not economically productive anymore. A lot of times what you see over there is that, especially if they're left to neglect, you kind of see like brambles and other things of that nature develop. Now, what happens with a lot of those lands, especially around Otsego Lake, or for that matter, any water body that has or even the smallest tourist value, is that almost inevitably they end up becoming real estate developments for downstaters and or anybody else who wants to come up and visit, which, okay, fine, ultimately it is the landowner's prerogative to do as they wish with that, but. Going back again to what I already had to say, an area that is paved and housed and has like hard surfaces will lose its ability to retain any stormwater runoff. That inevitably goes into the lake, which then incidentally deals with erosion, which incidentally deals with nutrient loading, which incidentally deals with all that good stuff. Yes.
Sounds like the real question is permeable versus not.
Yeah,
Not vacant versus
Go
not.
ahead, Matt, go ahead.
Yes.
rather than call it vacant land, call it what it is, call it use or parent or field or.
Paved or not.
Well, in a way, I think we have that in the land cover map. Just in its delineation between like urban and agriculture.
Well, I do see some extra information provided. I think the maps are complementary. I would be very disappointed if any reviewer looked at these and had a question and tried to find the answer in these maps. This is an entrance point to the GIS files that will allow someone to actually answer their questions.
Yes.
And given that, I believe that this vacant land map is valuable. It provides additional information.
Finally, before I close this section, at least from my side. The thing about quote unquote vacant land, it also depends on the nature of it. Yes, indeed, not all vacant lands are created equal, but for example, the vacant lands can be used as a prerogative for recommendation for afforestation projects. One that's probably more relevant to you guys over here is maybe somebody would be interested to transform that land into a wetland, which is itself would help slow down flow rates into the water body and also help with the health of the Otsego Lake. So those are factors that need to be considered for those fallow/vacant areas.
So I guess we would include it. Yeah.
With the
Yeah.
simple explanation that they are county formed and that the counties have slightly different categories. That's all.
My suggestion is to simplify the current map and just have vacant lots. I think it was light purple in the version. And the way I see it is what exactly Crystal said. Those are the parcels that can be developed. And in a way that it is more likely to be developed into residential, housing, etc. I do not see them being converted into cropland at this point and there was so much of that, especially on the western side of the lake. And I think it is informative to show that the western side of the lake has significant development potential. And we need to define what kind of development is going to be in line with 9-element plan.
So what do we,
Vacant farmland is a valuable category as well, because of what Christos just explained, that's where we would be building artificial wetlands if we want to do that.
Or targeted more afforestation projects and just plant free, let's say 5 acres or just let there open, we can plant trees over there and. That deals with, that helps a lot with erosion mitigation.
so if we do include it, there's work to be done on it?
Minimal, I think.
Well, I don't know if that's true, but. Let me talk to Wendy and see if there is a simplified version we can put in there, and I'll include Christos in that. To be clear, we already discussed this morning, the concept of, the development of land that is now vacant, and in terms of modeling. I don't think it's been decided upon, but that's something we're modeling just because there's limited options, so whether that's the final thing that we model or not, just give its overall impact, but we did discuss that this morning, so. Let me discuss it with Wendy, because I've not dealt with any of this data, but the way she described it to me. It is possible that if we're simplifying it, some of those concerns might be alleviated.
Okay,
I
good
just have,
discussion.
yeah, I just have one last point. To your point, Paul, if these maps are really going to be a portal, will there be a link or something to show people how to get to a GIS system? Now, not everybody has a license to use it, but it seems to me that's not going to be obvious to every reader of this 9-element plan. So it would be great if there was a key to get into the data behind that map, so people could look more closely and see things that aren't quite evident, but would be actually on the electronic file of that map.
I would assume that it's literally just a file she got from the county, so it's probably available right now, and anybody who wanted to bring
County GIS file, mostly,
And accessible.
Yeah.
Okay, good, a very good discussion. Good discussion. Yeah. Okay, moving along, Dr. Richmeyer just got back, so we're gonna give him a break on these items on the agenda. We'll talk about them next time, but our scientific advisor has agreed to write up our next communication to the email list. And sort of helping homeowners understand how they can protect the land and therefore the watershed from some of the information she has sent us on email. So that will be one of the things we do the next time, just to sort of get that information out there. And if there's more stuff, if there's more things we can share with homeowners, we will, but we thought we'd start just sort of an education process for the next time.
Can I just, I wrote to the lady at, in Maine, whose brochure and stuff that I saw. And all I got back from her was, the same thing that was in the brochure. It really wasn't. Somehow they've collected a group of well-educated, people who are willing to work on, to give an evaluation for different properties, essentially for free, to tell them what they could do with it. Now, what I wrote her was, how do you find people like that, or where do you educate them, or whatever, I got nothing back. But I think that's the sort of thing that that I think we should work on at some point. Oh, I think we got enough to do right now with the 9E plan to be working on that, but somewhere along the line, you'd like to collect these people who you could go to and say, this person can really work with. We're gonna, how are you gonna do a driveway and have it be as
Yeah,
environmentally
Yeah.
good for it as it can be?
I think we could develop, you had the idea of, tributary champions and, there are other things that other lakes have done and OLA has done, to try and get folks more involved in having an army of people to protect the land. But so I think at some point, we need to say, we have a plan, not right now, because it doesn't have to be in the 9E, but we have a plan for how to use our folks who live here and care about the lake to help protect it. And
Yeah,
to take our experts here and have them help us.
In other states, the land grant universities extension service has people who can come around and advise on lakescaping. I don't know if Cornell's extension is up for that around here. They seem to be more focused on terrestrial stuff. But there are also like greenhouses and horticulturists who are in the private sector who are focused on native plants, and I wonder if any of them are interested in kind of branching into the riparian vegetation.
Right, so we could examine that, but also we can work with soil and water who are
I was gonna
experts.
say that for this region, the USC knows quite a few things regarding riparian vegetation and riparian crops. We work with them a lot, so that's, we could reach out to them.
Yeah, and so when we get this going, which isn't now, we'll use all, go ahead, Pat.
I think this leads right back to Yoko's suggestion about things that might be available during the next public meeting. I mean, the meeting could be one part of it, but there could be an open house before or after, where people who offer these kind of services. I mean, we're gonna go to the New York State Conference this weekend, a bunch of us, and the entire time the conference is going on, there's people in one room who offer services for people who are trying to protect lakes. They do designing, they do engineering, they do testing, and they have their little things set up. At the planning conference that a lot of us went to last week for the New York State Planning Federation, people were there who provide those kind of services, and frequently those people have to pay for the very thing you're trying to do.
Right.
Because it's in their interest to get their name out. And if, like Bill says, if we have people, for example, who do, permeable driveways on hills, we should know who they are, and they might see it in their interest
Right,
to be there.
good idea. We will, the thousands of people on the communication team will put
Add that on
that
their
plan
list.
for the public meeting. It's a really good idea, and by then we'll know, be really smart. Right, yeah. Kyoko will help us. Great idea. Okay, let's see, the temperature loggers, what's up with that?
We can only do that after pigging, because we do not want the pig to disturb the loggers.
Tell us about the pigging. We have a date?
It hasn't been set yet. So
Why?
Because
maybe
the
I,
date I suggest is refused. For now, I'm hoping to have an agreement to do it on the last Sunday of the month, which is after May.
Is that still classified as early enough in the spring, or are we getting late?
I don't think it really much matters after 3 years, once we get it done this summer.
Okay. And Matt has asked for some stuff. We do that, whatever that stuff is, he said. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
okay,
there are a couple of competing priorities here. From the water plant's perspective, the most important thing is to have it done while the pressure is still high. That means have it done quickly. From my perspective, it's to make sure that the divers are safe. So generally. And the problem right now is that, I don't have a lot of divers that have done this before. But generally, I want divers out of the water after the gate is open and back in the water after the pig is out, which makes it difficult for us to capture the pushed out debris, which is what Matt's after, the water muscle, muscle shells. So
Wanna
if
jump
I
right into
have an experienced big diver in the boat, then I will have them down there and they will obtain that debris.
Okay,
But if I don't, that's gonna have to wait until some later period.
So in terms of scheduling staff, and Jacob, getting into what further coordination do we have? As far as your-
These emails went back and forth said that we're not even supposed to be talking about it now, this is the water for this stuff.
Don't worry about that. I'm on the- No, we want to, we'll coordinate. that. I just, if you have your date down.
Well, we know what has to be done on Sunday. We've already been turned down on 2 dates. So this weekend is the first, it is the weekend before finals, that's not gonna work. The next weekend is graduate, that's not gonna work. So it would be 3 weekends from Sunday just past or. Last 2 Sundays of the month, doesn't really make much difference. It's going to be difficult because most of the students will gone then and most of my volunteer divers right now are students. But we'll make it work.
So can we write down those dates, Jake, and then give them to pin them down? I mean,
It's kind of quick, are you working?
So the dates are. It would be 24th or the 31st. And since the 24th is Memorial Day, which I believe it is, Shannon, probably be the Columbus.
is the 24th?
That works for us, we'll
It works for
make
you.
that work.
So either, if we now go to the water department and say either of those dates, we'll pick one,
Yes.
you're good.
Yes,
Okay.
I will.
Thank
all
you.
right, thank you.
I mean, with volunteers, it's never certain until, yes, but yes, 24th to the 31st, I'm confident.
Thank you.
Okay,
We pushed them pretty hard this spring.
okay,
They've been out on the lake. Every weekend for the last 5 weekends except one.
okay.
They're pretty tired.
Yeah. Okay, I guess I would just say for the future, it's probably important to determine how often we want to do the picking. And it has to be at a time when the resources are there to do it. We started talking about this 2 months ago, hoping that we get a date that would work. So I think we just need a little more communication between WSC and Water Board. Make sure that we've got, you've got the talent on the boat that you need, they've got folks that they need, but it's gotta be a little more coordinated in a joint effort, I think. Does that seem fair?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Lake level efforts with SUNY, nothing yet,
No, it doesn't yet. I'm communicating with Mike. It's still being planned, but it hasn't happened yet.
hasn't happened yet, but you're confident it will.
I'm
Somewhat
dependent upon Dr. Fox,
Okay.
and I'm confident that I will work with them to try to get it done.
Okay. All right, thank you, Matt. I really appreciate that. Okay, quick updates, because we're already here at 10:05. Quick updates, communication team, we have to vote on the business email that we're gonna send out. It was sent out to you. Jacob sent it out to you. I would move approval with the modifications that Joe made. Second,
Second.
any comments? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Denied?
I would just make a comment. I think I have the most advanced version here, but it says that the group, the Watershed Supervisory Committee is a group comprised of representatives from around the lake and local scientists and community members and non-government organizations. Technically, I don't think that's correct, is it? I think it's, I mean, we function that way, but I'm not sure that the Watershed Committee as it was.
Okay, so we could say that the Watershed Supervisory Committee works with a team
Yeah.
of people, we'll put it that way. Works with a team of people, scientists, blah, blah, blah. Okay,
I don't have any problem, actually, if you send it out to people there, I don't think anybody would ever know this.
no, but
I just think it's.
Yeah.
we have time to change it.
Uh,
All right, so
just
it's,
making it clear.
yep, no, that's fine, yep. And ag tributary, is there a meeting coming up?
I don't have planned right now. I need to talk to Christos some more about what we need to do with the ag. But
Ag and tributary, gotta get that group going. Okay,
I think they're waiting, and Christos has given us some great information already with the ag BMPs.
okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, I just need to meet with him and might be able to point out, get some percentages maybe on some of the numbers, but they've done some great work and more to come.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Yeah, very helpful.
Modeling, the scientific modeling update, this question is always for me. Did we get all the BMPs? And Jake and I talked about this before the meeting. And we are in the, as you know, in the document that on the regulatory stuff, there's a lot of BMPs in there. And I think we do have what we know about right now. And so I feel confident about that. Is that a fair statement? Okay. Anything else from the scientific committee we should know? I don't know that we know a lot. Scientific.
So we just met this afternoon early.
Okay.
Modeling is basically done. The only catch is that because of the shift in the administration, they do not have the climate scenarios published forecast beyond 2030, which is only like 4 years from now. So we met with the scientists with the Chesapeake Bay program, and they do internally have predictions up to 2070 or 75, and they're doing the calculation so that we have the projection for Otsego Lake, but that requires some time. But once
Who's that has that?
that is the EPA scientist
Okay,
in Maryland. So the person that we talked with needed to actually ask the modeler working under him to do that, and it's taking a bit of time, but the models themselves are there and just waiting for those scenarios to be fed into them.
okay. Thank you very much. Regulatory update, the municipal assessment chapter is soon to go back. Jake is having some discussions with the consultants to make sure everything is in there that we asked or people put in the comments or that was changed from his review of it. Is that about where we are with it?
Yes, so they already have it. We're gonna meet with Reggie and Ryan tomorrow, so read boards all our take home messages.
Just to be as a learning opportunity, one of the things that we were asked to do was to take a look at that document and prioritize the things that were at the end of that document. Jake did not receive any feedback from any of us. And when I say us, I mean the whole team, not just WSC. So I want us to be a little more disciplined about that when something like that has to be done to make sure that 90 plan really represents what we are doing. And so we'll be a little more vigilant as we go forward.
What happened with the request to the county that was made at the leadership meeting?
I don't think, Jacob, you haven't heard back from Kevin yet, right? No. Not yet. Kevin's
So
very
is-
reliable, so I'm,
So is that going to be included and then we won't actually have a final until we get it? Because a lot of us answered by saying the county's taking care of this, and if they're not, or if they say something different, we ought to like adjust that.
I don't know, because it's not as if we handed the municipal assessment forms to the county. Like 2 months ago, we gave it to all the towns,
Yeah.
so I feel like I can't like insist that they do it a huge amount. Let me, when I go through it tomorrow. I'm trying to think in the report, did we run into any comments where it was like the county? Maybe there's some, but I'll make sure.
I put it somewhere, it said the county does it, and I would just come in.
I think we did do
Okay.
that, yeah, but I think what we can do is say to Kevin, we can just call him, he's very responsive, he's a new dad. And just make sure that he's on
Yes.
board.
Let me follow up with him tomorrow, and I will definitely make sure. With your particular comment that I check with him on that first.
Thanks, Pat.
Because I just, we're having our law, the laws of town of Oswego codified, and we're working on that. And I finally found when we turned over to the county, doing our building and other code enforcement. And I was thinking, they never report to us what to do. We turned it over to them, but we're never getting a report of what they're actually doing. So I had no idea what building permits they're issuing or anything. And I thought, I don't know that I want to keep coming to the county to do this.
Right.
Maybe that's the choice we've made, but maybe it's not, the best.
Effective anymore.
Well, I don't know.
We don't know.
I don't know.
Good question. Great question.
It made me think of it.
Yep. Jeff, and I spoke the other day, and Jeff has a view of how he wants to run the regulatory committee. I've asked him to share that today.
Well, and it's, I'm gonna preface this by saying somewhat of a question and then also some subjectivity. To my knowledge, there has not been a meeting of the regulatory committee. There have been individuals who have earnestly worked on regulatory items, which is great. But as I assume the role, questions for me that arise are, well, and I have the statement, Yoko sent me something, you sent me something, it's right out of the materials about what we're supposed to do, very clear. My thought on this is that in some way, we might want to have a standardized approach, and the word standardized can be off-putting. However, when we have a meeting, my thought would be to summarize it succinctly, acknowledge the highlights, point out anything that would require approval by this group. So there's an actionable item, you get to look at it and say yay or nay. But then have it then just be a general communication in terms of what is this committee doing? Then by extension, it would seem to me that we ought to have a very modest and I mean, it's more in a soft way, but a work plan just says, here is what this committee is working on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Who's got it on the committee? Whipple has it, or Galen has it, or somebody else has it. So that if at any point someone wants to know, what is the committee doing? Jake, in your role, you have a good handle on it. Routine, in your role, what's going on with it. And you can reference it as necessary, and it's available to anybody else who wants to look at it, which I think, to me, makes some sense. One other thought on this is that, and this arose, frankly, because of some of the topics still on the agenda, and that is when we have a number of things in motion, and they're all in process. For me, it would be helpful to have a tracer document that says, where is Springfield? Where is Cooperstown? And the $50 fee would be one. But each of the municipalities are looking at this, and hasn't been announced yet to people. What was the reaction? So are we done with that? When we do, and I think more cogently, the no wake zone and the no wake boats, because now we're talking about some legislation. Where is that in the approval process? Has it gone through the respective municipal bodies? Has it gone to the county yet? Who else needs to approve this? i.e., so we know that once the initiative is complete and been fully processed by all the municipal bodies, it's done. It can go on the accomplished list. But I would see my role in this as tracking that. Just so we know where it is, and if something seems to be stalled, I would think my role would be to give a call to my supervisor, Ron, where is this? Or to Galen or whoever, and if it's something we can help with. It just trying to get organized as I assume this role as we're coming here and see, and I'm very sensitive to overloading people with extra paperwork, extra communication, stuff that I think would be meaningful and cogent, succinctly summarized and communicated would make sense. What are you working on? Where is it? What's the work plan? Who's got it?
Music to my ears, as you might guess. I think this would be a good model for all the committees. If the state walked in this door and said, okay, what's blank committee working on? Could we articulate it? Could we articulate it at this table? And that wouldn't happen with the state, but I think what Jeff's proposed makes sense. There are chairs, it makes sense to us, well, I should say, I'll just speak for me. As the chair, co-chair of communication, that makes sense to me. We could do that. I don't know, ag, scientific committee, is this something we can cobble together, or does this seem like too much? In addition to what's being done, or?
I have a question. How does our overall Gantt chart accommodate the work of the different committees? So if we have our progress towards 90-plan approval, that chart, you want sub files for that?
Well, no,
I mean, I'm not saying you want, but the idea is.
yeah, the idea is for us to be informed as much as possible. Jeff's approach is, I think, makes a lot of sense to me. But again, I think we should think about it. We don't have to decide right now, but it would be a way of us knowing exactly what's going on with each team, which I don't know that Jake has a good sense of it because has his hand in all of that. And I feel like I do a little bit, but I think it's something worth thinking about. I think it makes sense for regulatory to work that way, unless someone has an objection. Does anyone have an objection to that approach?
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. I do too. So I think this might be something the other committee chairs consider.
The only complication maybe, and Keel could speak to this more, is just that the modeling group is so internal. I get it, not in an exclusionary way, but just that there's a lot of conversations that are going on that are very specific to the teams, UFI and Anchor.
And it might just be, modeling continued.
And she's already handling like the meeting minutes and stuff like that, so, but I can talk to Kyoko, we can come up with just, here's where it's at, here's the status of these different parts. She actually facilitated today, so the sort of monthly progress reports will sort of describe where we're at now in this, so we already have the monthly progress reports, but they're sort of taking the current one and it'll be more of a summary that explains, all right, that we've got these things down with the model, this is the thing we're waiting on, but just an explanation, so. Just like Jeff said, anybody could pick it up and know exactly what the status was. Right?
Perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanna get a sense of the no wake law, fine upgrade, and the no wakeboard boat laws, which are the wake regulatory committee agenda items that we all agreed to work on, right? Okay, so I did it. I did everything I'm supposed to do, and I sent a memo that said, we did it, this is the timeline. Isn't that what you're asking for, or are you asking for something different?
No, we just need to see it for all municipalities.
We don't have that for anybody
So that we know.
And I put it all together and say, you want to track any of the four, here it is.
I sent it to I sent it to you. I
No, you sent it.
Jake to send to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean,
That's perfect.
what is the formula? I mean, I'm on the regulatory committee, but I did it because I'm on the town board. And because I did it, but is there a track that I'm not following that we're supposed to do when we do, like?
No, I
Take
think
it back to Paul.
I think
What?
that Jeff is just outlining his view of how he wants the committee to run. So when y'all get together, you'll be able to figure out how that looks. But that would be one tracker of one thing. There's probably 50 things that need to be tracked, so.
But I would roll it up for the four municipalities So that be my job to make sure it got done and it got submitted to whom it needed to be submitted to. And some will take longer. Middlefield probably is the slowest at the moment, in all honesty. That's okay. But anybody who wanted to know, particularly these two, what is the status of this? This was something that's agreed upon. There's 4 things in motion to get it done. Well, who's seeing that all 4 have actually gotten it done?
Yeah.
That's what the point is.
More to follow.
You can, Pat, you can go ahead and send stuff. If you're done in Otsego, well, I would want to know that as the regulatory committee chair. And if you want to let Jake know upfront, that's your call.
There's steps. When you're changing the land use law, there's steps you have to follow. You have to propose it. Put it out there so people can see it. You have to send a copy of it to the county.
Yeah.
For the county to review.
Yep.
To get it back.
Yep.
You can't go forward, but, and then you schedule a public hearing, which
Right.
we've done for July 12th.
Right.
To make sure the county had time to get it back to us. So on July 12th, there'll be a public hearing, and then theoretically, it'll be adopted. Then it gets sent to the state, and that's when it is formally really done.
Right.
When
And
the
what,
state gets it.
yeah, what Jeff's talking about is sort of, a picture in your mind, a chart that says, here are all the steps that each municipality has to do. Otsego, check. Village of Cooperstown, check, so that we know each municipality where they are with it. He'll know.
Yeah.
And then he can
just
report
what you
back.
outline.
Yeah,
Those 6 or 7 steps.
and
And
then,
that's how it would go for a land use law.
yeah, anything,
Anything else we're supposed to be.
Yes.
As part of the regulatory. commission.
correct.
There might be another.
Yeah.
Set of checklists.
Yeah.
Do we
And-
need to have a meeting?
Yes, well, that's Jeff's
Well,
gonna try.
I've been in consultation with them about a meeting.
All right, good. I think a great plan. Thanks, Jeff. I think it's a good idea. Okay, moving right along, the fee. The inspection fee letter. Jake sent it out. Joe made just a change to it that makes it clearer. I would like to move it. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion before we take a vote? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, now you need signatures. I think you've got
I do.
mine.
Before you leave, at least, I can pass it around. That's-
Yeah, so that people won't forget. Let's do that. Okay, yay.
Yes.
Yay, thank you, Town of Otsego, for making that happen and doing it in the right respectable way. We appreciate it. Thanks to all the other municipalities who agreed. This is the second time the municipalities have worked together on something, the wakeboard thing and this. I think that's a really good sign that let's remember 3 years ago. Very little conversation, much less working on a project together. So great job. I just have to say, you've done a great job, and that speaks a lot to the people in this room. Okay. The wake boat, to your point, I think everyone has it in their process. I think the 2 issues that came up that Pat mentioned are critical. One is if we're going to allow people, not people, but the police humans to enforce it, are we comfortable with should we make sure that we have the fine be the same? So they don't have to say, oh, I'm in the town of Otsego, it's $40. I'm in the town of the Village of Cooperstown, it's $50. That's one question. The second question was, we need to ensure that any enforcement is allowed to do it. And you read the law from the village. Is that something you all can adopt?
That's what ours says too.
Okay.
I thought we were all going with the same.
Me too. I just want to make sure
Yeah.
Springfield and Middlefield.
Everybody had agreed to 250.
Okay.
And
No
then we
ways.
agreed to that same language about any officer can enforce it.
And Springfield, okay, Bill?
I don't know the details of this, how
Okay,
But Galen was there and he agreed to the 250.
that's what my understanding is everything went well, but I just
okay,
don't have detail.
Yeah.
all right.
Well, we all agreed to the 250, but it really doesn't matter to the law enforcement officer. When you're cited, nobody tells you what the fine is. The judge tells you what the fine is.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
that. Okay, all right, so just check that out, will you, with Galen, make sure. Okay, patrolling the lake, you heard a lot about that, but also, Florian is talking with SUNY about that this summer, so that's another thing.
They're receptive of it, sounds like.
Okay, but no plan yet.
I will have, one of the officers communicate with Mike and coordinate with him,
Mike
Mike.
Stalter,
Sorry.
is that
I
coordinated?
think so, because it sounds like they're, seeing the same thing, so they ought to be aware of what one another is doing, and I think. One of the officers would love to get trained, so he would have the ability to do that.
Okay, so SUNY is going to provide,
Well, they're supportive of it, they haven't committed yet.
So at this point, he's running for sheriff.
Yeah, he's not
for sheriff.
Would it help if we had something from this committee directed to the university president?
that's what Pat
That's
suggested
being
too.
worked on.
I sent you his address.
I know, but Florian wanted me to wait,
Oh,
so,
They're working toward that, and I think that should happen, but not yet.
Okay.
there's
Well-
also somebody who came to meet with us last year, I've forgotten her name, who's the community liaison, let's have SUNY be out in the communities person. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, there's a VP for outreach and community affairs.
Yeah.
Caroline Williams or
Yes,
Williamson,
that's
yeah.
her. She came and met with us. And I have the feeling that she was intended to have a job that had her be an advocate for various things and sort of sort out the priorities of stuff that
So,
various communities might want. Does that sound right, Paul?
yeah, I think that Bertine should call her.
Give her a job.
I don't see how anybody could see anything inappropriate about that.
okay. Okay. Jim, update on the lake pledge?
Yeah, it's getting old. We have a board meeting a week from Saturday, it will
Okay.
be finalized, it is finalized, we're just gonna go public with it. A week from Saturday.
Jim, should we make this part of our communication process? To let folks know? I mean, I know you're gonna let OLA know, but
Yeah, well, actually, we put it out with the, I'm just trying to remember now, with the OCCA and BFS, I guess, right? Yeah, and we'll include you, Bertie, the WSC, so whatever we decide on
We'll know.
Saturday, I will update you, BFS and OCCA. As kind of the stakeholders.
thank you. Thanks for
Jim,
making that happen.
Yes, sir.
You do, what is the pledge?
It's just an individual initiative saying that I will conform to these best practices. And I will, also, it's an eyes and ears thing on the lake. With the, reporting unsafe activities or perhaps even I'm not sure how we're gonna do the out and the
Cabs.
ATVs.
Yeah,
But kind of just people taking, it's not just property owners, that was kind of why, it started off as property owners, but it's. If somebody, for instance, wants to be responsible for Council Rock Park. They go down there and kind of look around and see something,
yeah,
there's I think it was, as I recall, something correctly, in county software, I think we're.
yeah.
Somehow there's a monthly tickler you can get. And that ultimately forms a database, but. I will get a copy of whatever we decide. And get it to. These groups and to you.
It's a document of various ticked off things that people commit to keep the watershed healthy and,
Keeping plants by the shore.
yeah, it's a list of, yeah, and it actually, Ken Drago, had already done this.
They did it first.
Yeah, they did it first and we essentially took it and enhanced it through OLA, so. Okay, let's see, I've got picking the line done. The 9E pending, I just want to do a quick check. Let's turn to that on the agenda, the 9E pending. Those are the things that we're gonna wait on and not do anything about them now. I was listening to the meeting and Paul Lord said something that was important. I was walking and listening to the meeting. And he said, not everything has to wait till the 90 is done, which are. Recall, we struggle with this balance of what can wait, because we're talking 3 years, right, or 2.5 anyway. And what do we have to do now? So I just want to make sure we look at that list and make sure we're okay with that. We're gonna have to add the Mill Street Dam because we were turned down for that grant.
Oh, really?
And that makes me sad because I don't think we should wait.
I apologize, what is that? I'm a bit rusty, what exactly?
Kyogo essentially submitted a grant for.
Yeah, so
an
that,
engineering assessment.
that was a Susquehanna River Basin Commission one. To have the engineering evaluation of the Otsego Lake Dam. To see, how it can be improved engineering wise, but that was not funded.
Why don't we do it as a, CFA for June, since you already did all the paperwork for it? And put it under the same thing we did this one, local watershed improvement, whatever.
What's CFA?
Consolidated funding
Well,
application.
this one,
Yeah.
we put it through the SUNY RF because Cooperstown was not able to be the petitioner.
Cooperstown has said no more grants right now.
Cooperstown had 8 grants for the same grant call.
For the same place, not for a whole different thing.
Might be able to do it.
Plus the CFA right now is for municipalities only. I cannot apply through RF, and then it's for the medium to high hazard dam. Ours
Ours
is
isn't, yeah.
Oh, okay.
What is it, what is it, Class C dam, or there's?
Yeah, I think,
Yes,
yeah, ours is not going to,
The dam got a reclassification to a lower hazard class when it was last reviewed about 12, 15 years ago.
You guys just wanna review, no removals, no nothing around the lines of that.
no, it's
So but that was the one that OLA put up, we were gonna give it $10,000.
Yep.
match.
right, so you guys are off the hook.
You have that.
Merry Christmas.
Well, I mean, if it does come up in a different venue, different, we'd be willing to look at that again.
So I guess here's my question. Does that wait for the 9E, or do we want to try and explore something sooner than that?
I think it's so unsafe. I feel like.
I don't know if it's unsafe.
It depends on what's right.
Yeah, it's unsafe, but I think, I'm concerned about the guys that work out there. okay?
That's what I'm thinking.
But I think it's archaic, for sure.
Yes.
We can debate whether it's safe or not, it's certainly, I think, it's hazardous for guys to get out there and lift boards.
Yeah.
But at some point, it's gonna have to be. Replaced or updated, so
As hazardous as it is, Jim, that is very common on state law. There are
Right.
dams all over the state with Ford dams.
Yeah,
Ford still is.
To me, I think it's, we have to be careful about asserting as a basis for a grant application on an unsafe labor practices. I think what we're after is a way to outfit that dam with scientific instruments that we can better
Correct.
control. And I mean, there'll be physical structures on it, but we're looking for science, I
well,
thought.
there's a lake level issue.
Archaic is the
Well-
right word. Archaic is the right word.
Yeah, we
Not-
don't.
Yeah, well, it's only 19th century.
Silly question, why don't we get rid of that dam?
Yeah, let's just blow it up.
That would
Right.
go, yeah, that would lower the water level to the historic level and
Oh.
people wouldn't be happy about it.
And the main reason that's, I
On our lakefront property.
thought the main reason for controlling the dam was to dilute the wastewater.
Yeah.
That's the key thing.
The river would quit running
Because
after.
otherwise I'd be fighting mightily to reduce it back to its.
All right, so given this conversation, okay, let's come back together. Let's come back together. Peanut Gallery, hello. Let's come back together. Do we want to talk about this on the next agenda to see if we can't examine some other way to get an engineering study done? Or do we want to leave it as 2.5 years in the future, maybe?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, but I think, Joe, I think ultimately. This is our opinion. We have to work, we have to be, the village would support it. If we're going out there like, Don Quixote just was a great idea, that's one thing. If the village would be receptive, I think it'd be a good conversation. But if the village isn't receptive, and I don't want to assert unsafe conditions either, just that's the personal concern. If the village would be receptive, it would be a good discussion.
Yeah, I think the sticking point for the village in this initiative was that there was a failure of communication or a lack of communication. Maybe it wasn't a failure on anybody's part. We already had a grant application in for smart water meters to replace all in the village. Today, just today, a constituent called me showing me his $4,000 water bill because of a leaky toilet in a rental property. That was just one, and there are others. So what do you do with that? I mean, it's a terrible blow. The liability of the property owner is clear. The non-liability of the village is equally clear, but that's a big thing. So we're trying to make life better by pursuing that grant application. And that happened to, well, then when the dam application came in, that collided with something that was already there, and the village didn't want to be in competition with itself. And I think there may have been a proscription against having two applications from the same applicant. Something, I'm not sure of the details of that. So that's why that's been put apart. Before we answer your question.
Wait a minute. I was very involved in this. There was not a lack of communication. We were very clear that the village didn't want to do more grants, which we understand, administration and all the rest. That is why we went to SUNY, and I was clear with that, with the village, that we were going another place. We also clarified with SRBC that you could have two applications as long as they were two different entities. I just want to be, we weren't out there like.
No, that's not the suggestion, but the point I'm trying to make is that there was great consternation about a second application because of the work being done on this first application. Not that, I'm not saying it was a failure, I'm just saying that that situation of having two applications in was problematic. But I want to ask, before we go back to your question about when and whether to do another application, I'd like to ask particularly Jake, but everybody, do we feel that these other initiatives we've taken, we've discussed the salt shed, we've got the boat legislation, has that created any friction loss in our work on the 9E plan that's caused us to fall behind?
No, I think it's energized.
It is the 9E plan. Everything we've done.
No, I know it is, but speaking to the issues that Jake and the mayor and others have, what is it that we do? I mean, what's our bandwidth? If we have plenty of bandwidth, we can try these other initiatives, but if they redound to the detriment or the slowing of the progress of the 9E plan, that seems to be one of the metrics we use to measure whether we're going to do something.
Absolutely.
So I'm not saying yes or no, I'm just saying, and I saw your sigh there, Paul, so I'll ask you if is that a bogus metric in your view?
I think that this goal of the 9E plan is a bit filamentous. We crossed that finish line. I don't think a lot of people are going to pay attention to it. There's an awful lot coming out of this entire process. And so to go back to Bertine's question about whether we want to do anything about the dam, I'd say we need to see what the request for proposals looks like.
Yeah.
If there's something comes across our desk tomorrow that looks like it fits the dam, we're ready to jump, and we ought to. And the same for a lot of other things that are on that list of priorities for the 9E plan. You don't have to wait 2.5 years. The whole idea of doing the 9E plan is just to make a stronger case for us to get these grants. If something comes that looks like it's a good fit, we should not be waiting. We are working it right now. We should be using the products that we've accumulated to go after whatever grants.
Yeah, I think there's a sort of an artificial view of this and I understand it because I wasn't sure what it was in the beginning either. But the 9E plan is an effort to say these are the things that are important to make the watershed safe, and we can use it to get grants to make the watershed safe. That doesn't mean that, and everything we're doing right now is making the watershed safe. So if we decide we can't wait 2.5 years to make sure Clark Pond is okay. Christos agreed to do a grant. We can't wait 2.5 years or the lake will be unsafe. So this thing that 9E is something separate from this other stuff, it is not. I think the criteria of if this will mean that we can't get the 9E finished because we're taking too much time from scientific committee or regulatory committee or whatever, then we have to pause and say, wait a minute, maybe we can't do it. But I think we have to be careful. We wouldn't want to be that committee that waited on something that was critical for our source of drinking water either. So it's a balance. I think it's just a balance every time we talk about it.
And how much of this can we do without adding to the workload of the watershed coordinator?
Yeah,
Can I,
well,
can I put it that way? I mean,
the dam grant,
So
wait a minute, Kyoko did the dam. The dam grant. I think that has to be a measure that we take into account too, but we have a huge team here, like Christos is doing the other grant. So I think it all has to be a balance, staffing, us, whatever it is, has to be taken into consideration. Then we make a decision, grown-up decision. We're going to wait. We have to wait. We don't have the resources. We don't have the ability for people to do this stuff. I think it's all part of that. Go ahead, Jake.
So to be clear, my issue has to do with when we initiate something, but it's not really clear who's doing what and how everything is done. There were issues with the dam grant. The dam. In the sense, the village did not know until I found out over Christmas break that there was a separate application. And had that not all worked out in the end, we would have either wasted a ton of Kyoko's time and Ashley's time, and that wouldn't have been good for a long-term relationship. Or, I guess technically we couldn't have submitted them at the same time and had that be a problem, but it could have been an issue. So my point has to do with yes, making sure that we allocate these resources. That's why I encourage that all of our major initiatives should have a work plan that is voted on here at the committee, so that we actually have all those steps, because we have a lot of hardworking people who are going ahead and doing things. And then I find out later, and when there's an issue, I have to drop everything to resolve that issue.
Yeah.
So it's not clear cut if we don't have a good plan.
Yeah.
Now the dam, if there's something we can apply for, because the whole point was that it was part of the 9E plan, that we were doing that now. Same thing with the ponds, because we get those initial studies done, then we're all the better place to say, hey, New York State, hey, whoever.
We need money.
We have done the assessment,
Yep.
that is finished, it's part of the 9E plan. So as far as our big ticket items, that's a good way to get those done. But in no way, shape, or form am I saying, well, we can't do stuff now. If we're discussing this many topics, we have to have like specific plans where, like Jeff said, anybody could look at it and know the status of what we're doing. Because right now, it's not that I'm against any of the stuff we're doing, it's just that I see how the sausage is made. I see when somebody calls about a complaint because they don't know what we're doing with something, and that's what I want to address. It's better communication, and it's making sure that like we've laid out, these are the steps, who's doing what, and any one of us could look at it at any moment and tell what we're doing. And that way, when we've had a full communication about something, I have no problem with us discussing the dam if we want to proceed with that. I think it's great. It was great that she submitted the first proposal. It's a bummer we didn't get it.
Yeah.
I don't know whether, it's still on deck and that's something we just applied for automatically if we haven't already gotten a grant for that thing. But it's just making sure all those T's are crossed and that I's are dotted.
Yeah, so if there are things we're not doing that we should be doing at the committee, please let me know. We'll make sure we do it. But I'm just, in my view, I'm keeping track of what we need to do and what waits for the 9E, so we don't get involved in those things that are waiting. So I think it's a tough balance.
So as a response or a question, taking off on what I would definitely what Jake just said, but also what Jeff said. I look at this agenda and I see, 9 million things, well, not 9 million, but a lot of things on it But most of them are not attributed to somebody on this piece of paper that I'm looking at. Maybe I remember who's doing it, or maybe I don't. Maybe I remember how long the thing's been on here, or maybe I don't. So, you know, I'm sitting next to Jim, Lake Pledge, I remember he was working on that. You know, so maybe I think what would help here is something about like who took responsibility for something? Was there some sort of action plan where it was supposed to be completed by X, if we had a guess? Or if there actually was a deadline, or if it was being done by a committee or a subcommittee? Because that's not, I don't see that here,
Right.
although I know a lot of people have it in their heads.
Well, isn't that,
Need
is,
to have OneDrive or something to do that,
I'm sorry.
OneDrive or Google Drive to, I mean, we do have Google Drive for the working groups, but then wasn't there some discussion about moving to OneDrive?
I've given up on the OneDrive thing just because there are a lot of issues, because we wouldn't be getting a 50-person or 20-person membership. It would be a 1-person membership, and that works. OCCA does that, but it's like there's a lot of steps to jump through with.
can I ask,
Yeah, people on the right
So just to
so forth,
complete
So,
your thought, we can definitely put people, usually I put someone's name next to it if I know who's managing it, but I'll continue to do that.
And I think you were saying like, who is it that's working on it? And I think Jeff was saying, have we done it or not yet? Or what's the status
Status.
there? What's the,
Yeah.
you know, checklist for the status of things?
Yep.
And so I'm looking on here and I see State of the Lake BFS. Well, that seems pretty big. And, you know,
But the state, but what we've learned is the state of the lake is not part of the 90. So it doesn't, it's not something that we need to follow. So that'll come on.
well, but there's categories like septic pending, general pending.
Yeah.
Grants.
Yeah.
well, if there,
Quick updates, you know, so if it's somebody's job. You know, I did see it was my job to be police, but you know, not always,
well, is the fact that some of these things are pending, meaning they're parked. Nobody's doing them. We've identified them as issues, so we're not burning fuel on any of them.
Correct. Neither do we want to forget about it.
Right, so that's why they're there, but they're not actively being worked on, but they're in mind.
Right.
Well, Joe, some of them are picking the line Paul's a general pending. It's got picking the line and Paul's name's on it.
Right.
Well,
So it's
that
it
needs to
is
be,
being worked on.
it probably needs to be transferred to another part of the agenda.
Yeah.
But I want to ask, if I can ask just a grant question. It seems a lot of our discussions are around applying to governmental agencies, whether state or federal. I mean, what about Wendy Schmidt and all these other philanthropists we hear about? Do we explore, if we're pursuing grants, we cast our net much more widely to these private philanthropies that,
I don't know who would do that.
we have the problem. From the municipal point of view. There are no employees of the the town of Otsego. The village has more employees than the town of Otsego.
I'm not talking about that.
Well,
It's,
yes, you are, because when you go looking for a grant, it's, as somebody who's filled out those grants to get the one we're working under right now. That's somebody's job, and to keep asking for the money once you get the grant, that is a big job.
granted,
That's
I
why
agree.
The village doesn't wanna do it on
But he's asking for private funds.
This is no,
Say.
that is exactly my point. So it's not, I'm talking about the field of available money, not, yes, grant administration and application, it is a staffing problem. It's big. But if we are stymied from getting dam money, as we just were, are there other entities we could turn to? If we don't have the bandwidth to make the application, that's one thing, but if there's a bigger pool of money out there that we could look into, we'd be spending the same amount of staff time on it.
We kind of rejected the proposal, or I voted against a proposal that Amy put in, kind of, without having somebody who idea was to get grants for us.
No, we supported it. She put it in with with letter of support from WSC.
Okay.
Yep. That's grants.
The state.
But no, there's nobody, there is no staff at the village whose job that is. There's, everyone here is volunteer, almost, not everybody. So no, we don't have that mechanism.
Yeah, I think we're mixing a couple of things here, and both extremely important subjects. The first one is just getting ourselves a little bit better organized. And that would be the first thing. And I don't think it's a huge leap forward, some of the things we're talking about here, to just do these little modifiers that, that if we were to decide, and I would suggest there be a prioritization on the things that we decide to do. If we were to decide that the dam were an A priority project, and we were to decide that Bill Richmond was going to do it. Okay, there we go. There's two markers. And then we would have a date, short term, long term, fourth quarter, whatever. And then we'd have approximate cost attended to it if we could. Anyway, something that just gets us organized so that we don't have dual communications or things taking place in an efficient manner. First step. Second step, I think, is a very important question, because once we do the first thing and we start pricing out the things we want to do and find out, well, how much do we need to do this? Are we looking at 300,000? We're looking at 1 million or whatever. And then I think Joe's point comes right into play. Well, what are the potential funding sources? Have we exhausted them? Is there somebody who really has a pet project thing for the dam and like to contribute 50% to the cost, whatever we decide? I think that's a very important discussion to have. But we need more information. Somewhere in this material, I saw something, Pat, I think it was attributed to you. When are we going to talk about what the expectations are for municipality funds? I.e., what's the town of Otsego going to get? What's a very legitimate question. But it goes back to Joe's point.
That's on 9E pending. We decided to wait on that,
Right.
not talk about it now.
Right, no, I understood, because I don't think we're ready to do that yet.
No.
I would have spoken against trying to do it.
Start talking about 2027 budget pretty soon.
But I think we need, yes, but we need to know, well, how much do we need? And that's a whole other discussion.
It is.
I'll back off from that.
No.
I think two things. Let's pursue the fundraising thing. Let's get the project set, figure out what we want to do. We're organized, they're prioritized. There's a name attended to it, a date, etc.
Yeah, unless somebody wants to take on fundraising, I can't. So if that, I'm not gonna do that. And
I'm
it's,
raising my hand, but it's not volunteer.
okay, but so if, just let me finish, if we wanna do this, then someone here at this committee, team member or member has to take responsibility for it. Go ahead.
Two things. I just wanted to know, in terms of the categories and stuff, that is because Bertine has been making an effort to categorize some of these different things into like how we're dealing with them. So I just want to call that out. She has been working on that, and she solely works on these minutes and then agenda items for us with some help from Martha. But so I wanted to point that out. The other thing I was going to point out is that the 9-element plan, the end tables of all of these do have prioritization charts of everything they plan to do. It's either divided up into like high, medium, low priorities, or just what we're doing in the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And they do all have like information on funding sources and stuff. I think the private funding stuff is intriguing and definitely something we should consider. And it's also probably not something that Anchor or EDR is going to hit on at all. They're probably just looking at state, federal, local sources. So anything we can compile and to think about in that category, I think is valuable.
Can I respond to that? I was nodding my head a little too quickly. Should we encourage those consultants to, are they limited to only government funds? I mean, there's so much private wealth that's been accumulated. And people are doing some public philanthropy in that cohort. if that's where the money is, the money isn't in government anymore, it's the government's
Sure.
depleted, so maybe the consultants should be asked to scout out some of those obvious foundations that do this, or foundations that do this sort of.
So just to wind this up and get to the last agenda item so we can all go home. I think what we'll start putting people's name next to it. I'll hold you accountable. Do I think you read the agenda before you get here? I'm not sure. Do I think you read the minutes? I'm not sure.
About
Wait, let me finish. Yeah. So I will start doing that. I'd like you to take responsibility for reading the minutes, reading the agenda, see if your name's on there. If it doesn't make any sense for you to be in charge of it, let me know. Just call me, email me, whatever. And we'll start trying to create something that has a little more discipline to it. I think if what I want to count on, the scientists for is letting us know if there's something on here that we need to take action on sooner. So I'm going to put the dam back on the agenda to figure out how we do something around that. I'm going to call Ashley Safe Read again and say we were turned down. How else can she help us? I'll do all that. But I want us to make sure Paul, Matthew, Kyoko, Jacob, Christos, let me know if there are things that shouldn't wait, because I'm not going to know that. You are. And then we have to talk about how we address that, because best case scenario, we're talking about 2028 maybe, or even to submit a grant. We just have to keep that in mind. Can the issue wait 2 years and maybe more? So I think we just have to balance it. We just have to balance it all. Just go ahead, Kyoko, and then we'll get to the last item.
whoever is keeping track of those action items or agenda items, could we at least have one spreadsheet of those items so that things can be updated there, and then you can make an agenda out of that? Because it seems like the email traffic is really heavy, and you can set it in Google, Sheets, so that anyone as an edit, you can get the notification. That's how I work with, all the collaborators in research who are all over the world. Is it like what we do is like we have tasks and we have like red, yellow, green, or working on it, almost done, etc. And that would be, project tracker in a way.
Great idea for when I have an executive assistant I'll be hiring any minute now. I'll look at it, Kyoko, and see what we can do there. I wanted to get to the lake fund allocation. We had the meeting. Florian, myself, and Jeff Katz was there, and Jim, representing the subcommittee that recommends up to the full board. We made our recommendations. Jeff, am I okay to tell this group and therefore public what was recommended, or do I wait for the board?
I'm sorry, your team, Jeff stepped off a few minutes ago.
Okay, so then I won't do it in case. But it was a good meeting. One of the folks who originally was going to put a funding request in, withdrew it, so it became easier. The best thing we had was a thorough, fair analysis by Jake that says, here's how I view each of these grants, their importance for the 9E and the watershed. It was really, it made the process so much easier, and it was very fair, not at all skewed in any way.
A second that.
This was expertly done and really made a difference. And Jeff will take that to his board. So I think we'd like to continue that. That was a great add to that process, because pretty much it was Jim, me, and Florian saying, well, yeah, maybe this, but Florian had a request in, so then it's me and Jim, so having his view, I think, really helped us to put things in perspective. So thanks for doing that, Jacob. Appreciate that. Okay, I think that's it for this agenda. Anything that didn't get said?
Yes.
Oh, God, what?
The long story short, soon, the WQIP rounds are gonna be opening up, and that's.
What?
The WQIP rounds are gonna be opening up. I don't know when, but it should be soon enough. That's what I'm gonna be putting in the applications for those two studies. If able, I would like some form of a resolution from this body for me to move forward with that. And I just wanted to add an addendum and all that for the dam out in Cooperstown, the mill dam, is that what it's called?
Yeah,
I'm not saying I can, but I'll explore the ability of maybe I can come up with some form of a grant funding. I'm not saying I'll be able to pull it off, but I will try.
thank Christos, thank you so much. I really worry about that whole thing as part of our effort to be safe and
But out of curiosity, I know that you guys worked with the Park Dam, the one at the Park Pond many moons ago. And do you guys know, just out of curiosity, do you guys know an engineering firm who can do that or no? No is a very much acceptable answer. It just
Oh,
makes-
we do. We had one on the line for the grant that Kyoto submitted.
So if I was looking if I was.
No. For the grant you submitted, there was an engineering guy who was very helpful on that.
Yeah, so we got the scope and stuff like that. I can actually send you the whole application that was no funding.
Please, send that to me. I'll bring it up in front of my board. I'll see what I can make out of it.
Okay,
And honestly, having an engineer that you guys already have makes kind of the procurement a lot easier because I've been in situations where we had the money, but we didn't have anybody to do the job.
thank you so much, Christos. I'm putting your name next to it as done.
Yes.
See, we've unleashed the tiger.
Whatever you need, you got.
Need the vote, right?
Not now. He doesn't want it now. Do you want it now?
I kind of want it now.
Okay,
because-
what do you want the resolution to say so we word it correctly?
Oh, boy,
Let him give it to you for the next meeting.
Want to do that? Give it to me.
sure, but if it'll,
That way
but
we get
here's,
it.
but here's the thing about the WQIPs, I can do that. But the WQIPs don't stay open for too long, that's gonna be a bit rushing. But
So
if
what's
you guys-
what's
if you guys- but if you guys feel more comfortable with me coming up with the verbiage and giving it to you.
What's the intent? We might be able to do it. We got 10 minutes.
Basically, supporting, what is it? Backing up my ability to go for these studies, that's basically it.
Okay, I'd like to move that we support the soil and water leadership to go for a grant to assist with the effort with the Clark Pond.
Sure.
No, I thought you were talking about Mill Street Dam.
No, that he wants it for the other one he's doing.
Oh.
Am
Which
I
one
right?
did
You
you
want
want?
it for the Clark Pond one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Park Pond.
So I just made it a motion. Any second? All in favor?
I,
All opposed? Okay, it'll be in the minutes. I'll get them to you. You'll get them. Huh?
You applying for more than Clark Pond?
Well, you guys, we can do the Clark Pond first.
Yeah, he doesn't know about Mill Street. He'll let us know if he thinks he can. And then we'll do another resolution.
But you need it to be 2 grants, are you submitting 2 grants for
Yeah.
Park and Shipman?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes. Well, like, you can give me one resolution for park and shipment, and I can use both of them for 2 separate applications.
I'd like to amend my motion to include Shipman Dam. Is there a second?
Shipment,
I can,
All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Thank you. that'll be in the minutes.
Just give him carte blanche to apply.
I get, look at, all in favor, Christophe's doing whatever the hell he
Just go-
wants.
Go for it.
Yeah.
I think I was planning to use it for you, right, that you can do both of them in one grant, but the reality of the matter is that the more items you add into them, the more complicated it can become, so, sure. I
Well,
have to parse them out.
Many kudos from us, Christos, for even helping us with this. Really appreciate all this, truly, truly.
And if not, you're going to get me the.
Yeah.
And
Yes, doctor. Okay, are we all set? Anything that didn't get said?
I've
Paul?
taken all the votes we need.
I think so. Paul, anything that didn't get said? Matt? Anyone else? I want to make sure our scientists are happy. Are our scientists happy?
Really?
Are scientists ever happy? Are they ever? Turn off your,
No.
Do you think anybody's interested tonight in the school board debate? Are there any candidates running? And the last If you have not, but would be interested in signing a petition to get Mike Stelter on the ballot as an independent candidate and you live in the county of Otsego, then I have petitions.